Afternoon, Judge.
Afternoon, Mr. Jordan. How are you today?
Doing all right.
Good, good.
The SAP reset date will be September the 20th.
Okay. Thank you. And it's a little before 2, so I don't know if the jail is on or not. How many cases do we need an interpreter for today, Mr. Jordan?
There's going to be 2 cases for Spanish interpreter. One defendant, there was 3, but one got out. They NOD'd the charge, so it'll be 2 cases. One case is a reset from Saturday. Rosario, he received the bond on Saturday, but the disorderly conduct charge was not included in the case. Let me see what he got. He got a signature bond on the case. Let me pull it up real quick. Sorry. So he received a total of $6,000 sign-on bond through pretrial. It was $5,000 on the battery charge and $1,000 on the willful obstruction, but the disorderly conduct was left off the calendar. So he's still holding on a disorderly conduct charge with no bond.
Okay, thank you. Do we know who's representing him?
I'm not sure, Judge. He was add-on, so I don't know if the public defense got a chance to speak.
Hey, Mr. Coleman, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, fine. And you, I can speak to Mr. Rosario since he needs an interpreter. I also have the other interpreter case, Mr. Martinez. So
Okay.
as soon as we can be put in a breakout room to speak.
Well, if he got who do we have on from the state? I want to go ahead and address this now, because if he's gotten a signature bond on the other 2, I am inclined to give him a signature bond, given that it was left off on the disorderly also.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon. Hope you all are well. All right, so we're going to start at the South Annex this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, who do we have on from the state?
Mr. Evans.
I see Ms. Gardner there.
I apologize, Your Honor. Which case is it that you're talking about at this point?
Apparently there was a position number 24, Rosario was on the calendar on Saturday and received the signature bond, but for some reason, a disorderly conduct case was left off and he remains in jail through the weekend. Is that your case, Ms. Gardner?
I believe that it is, and I believe that case was no, Rosario. I do not have a Rosario.
Position number 24.
I got an email stating that there was one charge that was NOD'd, but it wasn't the disorderly conduct. It was another charge. I think it was simple battery.
I mean, if we could hold on that, that was not on our original list
Okay.
this morning. So if I could find out where that came from.
Okay. I'm just not inclined to hold this man in jail if he received a signature bond on the more apparently egregious charges. And he's been apparently sitting in jail since Saturday because of this disorderly conduct charge. I just want to make sure that we address him and that he is released.
Okay, one moment. Let me get in touch with our supervisor.
Okay. And who do we have at the South Annex?
We have position number 10, Your Honor.
Okay. Who's representing position 10? Ms. Evans. Good afternoon, Ms. Evans.
Good afternoon, Judge. I'm representing Ms. Evans.
Hey, how are you, Mr. Howard?
I'm doing good.
Good. Who's representing or presenting from the state for Ms. Evans?
Angela Waldrop for the state, Judge.
Good afternoon, Ms. Waldrop.
afternoon.
Again, good afternoon, Ms. Evans. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005953B with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Let's see, good afternoon. I think I saw, who do we have from pretrial today?
Hey, Judge.
Ms. Fox? Good afternoon. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Ms. Evans, this is her only prior arrest in Georgia, 20 in Tennessee. She has a couple of felonies. Most recently, she has a couple of thefts in 2019 and 2020, couple of FTAs, 2018, 2019, 2019, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. All that is in Tennessee. Nothing further.
Okay. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Judge. With regard to the recommendation on bond, the state would request a $500 surety bond that the defendant have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, as well as no weapons.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Miss Evans is 33 years old. She's been living here for about 4 months now, Judge, and she actually has 2 jobs here. She's a manager at Popeyes. She's been on that job for about 2 months. And then when she first got here 4 months ago, she was working as a stock clerk with Forever 21, and she still has that job as well. So she's really concerned about being able to keep her jobs. She won't qualify for our services after today. She does have 2 minor children, ages 14 and 15, that she takes care of as well. And so, Judge, we'd ask, given her limited history that I heard here in Georgia, that the court would consider a signature bond in this case.
$1,000 signature bond through the jail, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Evans.
Thank you. Next, Your Honor, we have position number 30, Ms. Taylor.
Good afternoon, Ms. Taylor. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005977F with battery. Is there a history, Foster?
No prior arrest, Judge.
Okay, and I'm not sure who's representing from the state on this.
That will be me. Ms. Gardner. Sorry.
Okay. I see 2
Was
of you.
I interrupting you, Ms. Wright?
No, I'm so sorry. I thought the judge was asking who was representing Ms. Taylor. My apologies.
Okay,
Oh,
you're
no, that's fine.
Okay, Ms. Gardner.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry. I was on the phone. We were trying to look up that other case that you asked about before this. So
Okay.
if you would just give me 1 second to get that in front of me again.
Is that Rosario?
Yes, Mr. Condrit, sir, is looking at the Rosario case at this time.
And he did accuse that disorderly conduct.
That's what he mentioned at this point. I think the question is, what did we want to do about bond on that one?
He received, it's my understanding that he received a signature bond on the other charges on Saturday. This charge was not before the court on Saturday, the disorderly conduct. Given that he received a signature bond on the more egregious charges, I was inclined to give him a signature bond on the disorderly conduct so that he's been in jail apparently another 2 days, given that this case was not handled on Saturday. Is there an objection to a signature bond on the disorderly conduct of $1,000?
I'll defer to the court, Judge.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give him, and is this your case, Ms. Wright, the Rosario case?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, I would handle that case.
Okay, Mr. Coleman, I take it that you won't have an objection to a $1,000 signature bond on the disorderly conduct with whatever stipulations were also entered on Saturday. Is that fine with you?
No objection.
Okay, so that is what we'll do with Mr. Rosario, position number 24. So let's go back to Ms. Taylor. Position number 30, Ms. Gardner, when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The state is asking for a good bond in the amount of $3,500 on that case. Stay away from Miss Dawson's home, which I believe is at 2353 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest, and also no contact with Miss Denitra Dawson and anger management.
Okay, Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. So Ms. Taylor is actually the sister of the previous defendant. They both worked at Popeyes, with Ms. Evans being the manager. What happened that day was they were both working. Her sister brings some food out to a car behind the complaining witness. The complaining witness is very upset because she said that she got the wrong order. She was complaining that the food was wrong. And my client sees her sister almost get hit by the complaining witness. The complaining witness backs her car up and almost hits Miss Evans. My client was standing, waiting to deliver some other food for another customer, and this person drives up and actually hits Miss Taylor. Miss Taylor gets really upset and she's really nervous, and she's trying to get this woman away from them because this woman is very aggressive with a car. Miss Taylor is only 17 years old. She goes to South Atlanta High School. She's in the 12th grade. She wants to go to business school, and she does live with Miss Evans. The both of them still work at Popeyes. We just ask that there would be no violent contact with the complaining witness. She's a stranger. They don't know her. There's no reason why either one of them would go to the complaining witness's home. And I am asking for a signature bond for her, Your Honor.
Ms. Wright, is the 2353 Metropolitan Parkway address, is that the Popeyes address?
I believe so, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Gardner, given that that's Popeyes and that's where they work and the facts, are you still requesting a stay away?
If that is Popeyes and it is not mentioned in the warrant, if they are fine with her still being employed, then that we wouldn't ask for a stay away, but we would ask for the $2,500 good bond and no contact with the victim. The warrant is very clear that the Officer Falcon, actually viewed the video and saw her attack the victim in this case. And then even when he tried to, or that when Miss Tanister Evans tried to break things up, and he was in the middle of them, then his shirt was grabbed. It was definitely a mess. So I would ask for the $2,500 good bond, anger management, and no contact with Denitra Dawson.
Okay, Ms. Wright, does your client, since she's 17 years old, have someone that can sign for her?
It would be her sister. She's got two sisters. She's got Miss Evans, and then they've got another sister that would be able to sign for her.
Okay. Well, someone, if I give her a signature bond, someone's going to have to sign for her, and you're telling me that that's going to be Tanistra Evans?
It would either be Miss Evans once she signs for herself, or it would be the other sister that's also local in Atlanta.
Okay, well, they're going to require a name, and they're also going to require, of course, ID and a water bill also. So I'm going to give her a signature bond since this is her first offense, a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Denitra Dawson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. She's going to need a co-signer, so that's either going to be Tenister, Tenister Evans, or you'll have to provide the other name, Ms. Wright, if it's someone besides Miss Evans.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm almost sure it would be Miss Evans.
Okay, so no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Before we proceed, I know that this is a holiday. We have a number of counsel here that have never appeared before me, before this court. The way that I like to handle this court is that I will call the case. I will speak with the defendant. I will ask pretrial for the history, after which I will ask for the state to give me the facts and their recommendation, after which I will ask for the defense to give me a presentation. If there are any witnesses on the line that wish to speak, then I will hear from them. So that's my normal course of action in this court, okay?
Thank you,
Thank
Your
you,
Honor.
Your Honor.
All right, very good.
Judge Morrow,
Ms. Taylor, good luck to you. Yes, Mr. Jordan.
was that 2,000 or 3,000?
It was a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, one-day anger awareness.
Thank
The
you.
stay away and the no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Next, Judge, we have position 1, Allen.
Good afternoon, Ms. Allen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005950Y with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Allen, 3 prior arrests, has an open case, 21 CP 201197, theft by shoplifting, 21 CP 201199, theft by shoplifting and tools, and a 21 CP 203020, armed robbery.
Are all those open cases?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Gardner or Ms. Waldrop. I'm not sure who.
Yes, Judge. Yes, Judge, this is my case. With respect to the recommended bond, Your Honor, state is requesting a $1,500 surety bond. We are asking that the defendant stay away from Neiman Marcus. And Your Honor, this is in obvious consideration of the history of the defendant. Just a brief factual basis, he stole a pair of shorts from this Neiman Marcus location.
Okay. And the Neiman Marcus, where's that located?
That is located, Your Honor, at 3393 Peachtree Road.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Allen is 18 years old. He was born and raised here in Atlanta. He is a graduate of Washington High School. He currently works at Home 2 Suites Hotel. He's been on that job for about 6 months, and he, of course, is concerned about being able to be released to return to keep that employment. Judge, given that it's a nonviolent charge, we did hear the history, but we would ask the court to take into account the nature of the charge and allow him to sign his own bond in this case.
It's going to be a $500 good bond. Stay away from the Neiman Marcus at 3393 Peachtree Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Allen.
And what's that reset date, Judge?
Brown.
Again,
What's that reset date again for SAP?
it's September, is that the 20th, Mr. Jordan?
Right,
The 20th?
yes.
The 20th?
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, courtroom 2, tell me again.
Position 6, Brown.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005948G with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Foster?
4 prior arrests, no violence, driver with a suspended license, DUI in 2015. Nothing further.
Is he recommended?
I'll defer to you, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Judge. With respect to the state's bond recommendation on the count of battery family violence, the state is requesting a bond of $2,500 surety. We are asking that the defendant have no further contact with David Traylor and stay away from the location at 2025 Peachtree Road, have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons. Your Honor, just a brief factual basis, the defendant actually punched the victim in the face during a domestic dispute. This caused bleeding and visible injury that the officer did observe.
Okay, Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Brown is 29 years old. He's lived in Georgia for over 10 years at this time. He has a job for Apple. He's a senior tech support. He will not qualify for our services after today. He's held that full-time job for about 3 years. And in my conversations with him, obviously, he was hopeful that he could get out as soon as possible so that he could not miss work tomorrow. But Judge, given that he doesn't have a history of violence, We would ask the court to consider a signature bond. He has made arrangements, does believe he could stay at a different address in Loganville if the court requires that he have no contact and to stay away from the address that he shared with the complaining witness in this case. So we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Okay, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Traylor, stay away from the 2025 Peachtree Road address. He can go back to this address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. I'm going to let you out, Mr. Brown, but you're going to have to make sure that you come back for your next court hearing to answer for these charges, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, good luck to you,
Position
Mr.
five, sorry. Sorry, Judge.
That's all right.
Position 5, Belcher.
Okay, in courtroom 2, I'm sure that you know that we have a Madam Interpreter on the line. I don't know if you all have an extra room today.
Yes,
So,
they're gonna be doing the breakout in courtroom 3.
okay, so you just let me know when you all are ready so that I can do the breakout with the interpreter. Good afternoon, Madam Interpreter, and with counsel, okay?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We're ready, Judge. I'll just call Miss Milton. She's in courtroom 3.
Okay, great, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Belcher. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005947Y with battery family violence. Is there a history? Ms. Bostic?
One prior arrest, Judge, a DUI in 2014.
All right. Ms. Walbert?
Yes, Judge. The state's recommendation on bond on the count of battery family violence is a $2,500 surety bond. We're asking that the defendant have no further contact with Mr. Stephen Coates and stay away from the incident location 2788 DeForest Ferry Road. We're also asking that he have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, as well as no weapons. Brief factual basis, the defendant struck Mr. Coates in the face, as well as the neck, leaving visible bruising, as well as a swollen cheek and a loose tooth as a result.
Okay, Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Belcher is 33 years old. He too is a lifelong Georgia resident. He indicated that he attended Newton High School as well as obtained an associate's degree in visual production. He currently works for Intera International as a marketing specialist with them. He's been on that job for 6 months. He will not qualify for the services of the public defender after today. Judge, I didn't hear a history of violence or failure to appears in his history. Additionally, I was able to reach Mr. Coates by phone, and he indicated that his desire would be no further violent contact. He indicated he'd spoken with the victim advocate as well, so I don't know if they have the same information, but we'd ask the court to consider no violent contact and a signature bond for Mr. Belcher.
Who is Mr. Coates to Mr. Belcher?
Judge, they were in a relationship. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Stephen Coates, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Mr. Belcher, I'm going to let you out, but you're going to have to make sure that you come back for your next hearing date and that there can be no further alleged violence between you and Mr. Coates. Good luck to you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 31, West.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Taylor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I did speak with the victim in that case as well, and he did request no further violent contact, but he does not want him in the home that they reside in together.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Can we have Mr. Belcher back up so that I can modify that?
Come on, Mr. Belcher. You're gonna have to.
All right. As such, Mr. Belcher, there'll be no further violent contact with Mr. Coates, but there will be a stay away from the 2788 DeForest Ferry Road. You can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that you might have there. Okay? Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, come on, Mr. West. Position 31 West.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. West. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005969D with driving under the influence of alcohol less safe. Is there a history?
In regards to Mr. West, is not qualified, 22 prior arrests, first offender on a theft by shoplifting, 4 felonies, convictions for bad checks, 2 arrests for probation violation, FTA, and 2 convictions for DUIs, 2010 and 2014. Nothing further.
Yes, Your Honor. Are you ready for the state, Your Honor?
Oh, yes, I am, Ms. Gardner. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. In regards to this case, the facts are the case that the officer happened to see him sitting in the driveway of 220 Tanner's Court and observe him with the car turned on, the back brake light or the reverse lights coming on, and him beginning to back up. The officer immediately activated his lights to stop him, determined that he was indeed alcohol intoxicated to the point that it was less safe for him to be driving. And giving his history, the state is asking for a $5,000 good bond, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and alcohol and drug evaluation and treatment.
Thank you. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. My understanding of the facts are that Mr. West had been going a few days without his medication. He does suffer from schizophrenia. And when that happens, his speech and his behavior are obviously impaired. He doesn't remember drinking that day. He did have an argument with his wife. He wanted to get away from his wife. And so he got in the car, he stayed in the car, and he just kind of wanted to cool off for a bit. We are asking for a signature bond. Mr. West is 55 years old. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He wants to continue to live in Georgia. And we are just asking for a signature bond.
All right. Given the history, it's going to be a $3,000 good bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. West.
Thank you, sir.
Position number 4, Your Honor. I'm sorry, we're going back to courtroom 2. What's her name? Godfrey?
What position is that?
Position 3, Banks.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Banks. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005945H with harassing communications. Is there a history?
Yes, Judge, in regards to Mr. Banks, does not qualify, multi-state offender, 7 in Georgia, Indiana, and Michigan, felonies there. Prior driving with a suspended license, FTA in 22. Open case currently in Fulton, 21 CP 203545, theft by receiving stolen property, firearm by a convicted felon, loitering, prowling, giving false name, misdemeanor 21 CR 006780H, theft of lost or mislaid property and obstruction, and then 22 CP 210949, firearm by a convicted felon and misdemeanor possession. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Judge. Based on the history, as well as the facts in the case, on the harassing communications, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond. We're requesting that the defendant have no further contact whatsoever with Ms. Beverly Blake, that he have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons. Your Honor, just a brief factual basis, the defendant repeatedly called, texted, and emailed the victim, harassing her as well as threatening her after she rebuffed his advances. He actually did this while the victim was in the process of speaking to the officer about the events, and then did so once again when the officer told him to cease and not to contact her any further. So that is the basis for the state's request for bond.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Banks is 42 years old, and Judge, he was very adamant that he denies these allegations. He isn't aware of who a Beverly Blake is. He's not sure how his name would have been circulated as it relates to this, but he indicates he has harassed no one, hasn't called or texted anyone in relation to, the facts and I went over everything with him. He just was not familiar with anything related to that. He does work full-time as an audio visual production manager at V103. He's been on that job for 2 years. He won't qualify for our services after today. He has been living in Georgia for about 3.5 years. And he does have an 11-month-old child that he supports as well. Judge, we did hear the history. We'd asked the court, he'd like the court to consider him for a signature bond. We'd asked the court consider that, and in the alternative, a lower bond amount, we'd ask that it be set at $1,000 if the court is not inclined to give a signature bond in this case.
All right, it's going to be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with Beverly Blake, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Banks.
All right, thank you.
Position A, Curtis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Curtis. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005975A with battery, family violence, and battery. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Mr. Curtis, excessive arrest history, 29 prior arrests. He has a conviction for 2020 harassing phone calls, 06 terroristic threats, at least 4 felony convictions, 3 arrests for parole violations, 3 FTAs, 15, 16, and 22, and a prior probation violation arrest. Nothing further.
Can you tell me what the felony charges were?
Wasn't violence, Judge, but I'll look them up.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Waldrop?
Your Honor, as stated, the defendant has prior convictions for theft by taking, aggravated assault, harassing phone calls. In addition, he's got an open case before Judge Roth, as well as a open pre-indicted case in the DA's office. With respect to count 1, the battery family violence charge, the state is requesting a bond of $5,000 surety for the defendant have no further contact with Khadijah Reason, to stay away from 2050 Fleet Street, to have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, as well as no weapons on or about his person. On the battery count, the state is requesting a $7,500 surety bond for the defendant to have no further contact with Sidorine Sheard, stay away from 2050 Fleet Street, have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons on or about his person. Just a brief factual basis, Your Honor. With regard to what occurred, the defendant pulled the mother of his child, Khadijah Reasons, out of the vehicle when she appeared in order to pick up their child together. He dragged her by the hair, he punched and kicked her. This caused lacerations that were visible to the officer, to both her lip as well as her leg. He then charged at Miss Reason's friend, who was also present, Miss Sheard, and choked her, causing red marks, again, that the officer did observe to her neck. He also threatened to kill Miss Reason if she called 911. We do anticipate that this will be a transfer to the DA's office as a felony in the near future. We are working on getting the strangulation assessment completed. And Your Honor, for those reasons, we would request the $7,500 bond on the battery and $5,000 bond on the battery family violence.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Curtis is 35 years old. He is a lifelong Georgia resident. He has been working for New Fire Protection as a pipe fitter. He does contract work for them. He's been doing that work full time for over 8 years. He too will not qualify for our services after today based on his income. He does have 3 minor children, ages 17, 8, and 3, that he supports financially and that he's involved with as well. Judge, he denies the allegations in this case. Mr. Curtis tells me that Ms. Reason and Ms. Sheard showed up at his house after a night of clubbing, and then they were quite frankly intoxicated, and an argument ensued in which they both attacked him. Judge, the facts will shake out at a later time, but we'd ask the court to take into account, we did hear the history, but we would ask the court to consider $1,000 bond on each charge. He would like the court to consider him for a signature bond, but we'd ask that it be no more than 1,000 on each. And the stay away judge, this address was actually his address. And they came to the address, and neither party lives with him at that address, the 2070 Fleet Street address. So we'd ask that there be no stay away. He's fine with no further contact. We just ask for the accommodation that he be allowed to have a third party transfer with some other party where he can continue to maintain a relationship with a 3-year-old child that he shares with the complaining witness in this case. So we would ask for that consideration, Judge.
Ms. Bostic, did you have any additional information for me?
Judge, those convictions are for, initial one was a theft by taking, 2 convictions for firearm by a convicted felon, and I did find the violence one. It's not on his GCIC, but it's a Fulton County case for like 4 counts of aggravated assault for 2016. It was a 5-year sentence, so it will be over. And he has 2 open misdemeanor cases, but they're for driving offenses.
Okay, thank you. It's going to be a $3,000 good bond on each charge, making for a total of a $6,000 good bond. No further contact with the alleged victims. I'm not going to make him stay away from his own house as long as none of the alleged victims actually lives there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Curtis. Courtroom 3, good afternoon, Officer Milton. Who do we have that needs an interpreter there?
I have 3 gentlemen, Rosario, Martinez, and Senor Esquivel Hilario. Those 3 gentlemen needs to have with the interpreter.
Okay, so for Rosario, we're not going to need him. I gave him a signature bond on that one disorderly conduct that was not taken up on Saturday.
Okay.
So, and he already has signature bonds on the other 2 charges. So he'll get $1,000 signature bond on the disorderly conduct.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, now who do we, Mr. Coleman, are these your cases?
I have Mr. Augusto Martinez.
Okay, and you need to speak with him?
I do.
Okay, so why don't we can we have Mr. Martinez first then? And if we can put Madam Interpreter and Mr. Coleman into a breakout room with courtroom 3, please. All right, thank you. And let's see, where are we going next? Courtroom, are we going back to courtroom 2?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Position 33, Mr. Zimario.
Okay, and who's representing Mr. Zamora?
It should be Miss Wright.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're all together. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005972A with driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe, and following too closely. Is there a history?
This does not qualify. 2 prior arrests, and both are convictions for DUIs in 2000 and 06. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Yes, Your Honor. And the facts in this case briefly are that the law enforcement officer actually witnessed this defendant coming up behind him so closely and then almost hitting the back of his patrol car before being able to come to a stop. When he went to the defendant's door, the defendant did not even realize he was standing there for some time. When he did finally get his attention, he noticed an odor of alcohol. The defendant admitted to him that he had been drinking and he exhibited problems walking and swaying. Given the defendant's history, we're asking for a $7,000 good bond on the DUI less safe and $2,000 good bond on the following too closely. And of course, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
All right, Ms. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. My client contests this. he says that he was driving behind a car that was continuing to drive slower and slower and slower, and the speed limit on the street was 45 miles an hour. This car was moving, he slowed down to 20 miles an hour when my client finally went around him and the car put his lights on. And he pulled over and he tried to follow all the commands that the officer gave. He was not drinking that night. He is contesting DUI start to finish. We're asking for a $3,000 bond on the DUI and a $1,000 bond on the driving following too closely, Your Honor.
Okay, so it's gonna be a $3,000 good bond on the DUI, about a $500 good bond on the following too close. That makes for a $3,500 good bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you,
Good
Your
luck to
Honor.
yourself.
Smith. Position 29, Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. I'm Judge Maury. Good afternoon, sir. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. You've been charged in case 22 CR 005968G with battery family violence, 2 counts, and hindering a person making an emergency telephone call. Is there a history?
3 prior arrests. He had a violent arrest, but it was no billed. It was for aggravated assault and battery family violence. But he does have a hold in Fairburn for simple assault. Nothing further.
Ms. Gardner?
Thank you, Your Honor. The facts briefly in this case is that he and the victim in this case, Jelia Trimble, do live together. And during an argument, he struck her face with his closed fist, leaving a mark. He tried to grab her cell phone out of her hands in order to prevent her from calling 911 for assistance, and thereby scratched her wrist. And then, of course, trying to prevent her from calling 911 for aid. In this case, we're asking that he be given a $2,500 good bond on each of the 3 counts, to stay away from the home at 6418 Capitol Knoll in Fairburn, and to have no contact with the victim, Jelia Trimble. Also, anger management or family violent intervention would be recommended.
And who is Ms. Trimble to Mr. Smith?
They live together, Your Honor. They are in a relationship.
Oh, okay, thank you. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. The facts of this case happened 2 months ago. My client had an argument with his girlfriend. It was a verbal altercation. He tried to leave multiple times. She kept blocking his way, would not let him leave. He finally got her away from the door so that he could leave. And my understanding is that at the time she was on the phone with 911, and as she's following him into the parking lot, she's off the Wi-Fi of the house, and that's what causes the phone to drop. It's not that he was knocking her phone out of her hand. It's just that the phone doesn't work unless it's on Wi-Fi, and that's why the call dropped. He never tried to knock the phone out of her hand. He never tried to make any aggressive move towards her. He was just trying to get away from her because things were escalating. I do know that he's got a hold in another county. And for that reason, Your Honor, I would ask that you consider a signature bond. He will be fighting these allegations.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Ms. Bostic, can you help me understand? You say that he has a hold out of Fairburn, the city of Fairburn. I don't understand how he could have a hold for a simple assault out of a city court.
I don't know demographics. I mean geography, but I will pull the whole up again, Judge. It just says Fairburn.
Okay.
Vontae Smith, the hold, and I will read it to you as it says, what it says. It says, outstanding whole agency, the police department, Fairburn. Some numbers, Mr. Smith, Leon, simple assault, battery. Date of warrant, 7/18/22, Fairburn, Georgia. Police department, Fairburn, Georgia.
Okay. I mean, I think all of Fairburn is in Fulton County, and that those type of charges that a city would not be able to prosecute, they would have to send it to the.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Judge, but it's the
No.
same thing, like if you get arrested or in felony court, like you get arrested for a charge, but you have an outstanding in a smaller municipality, say College Park, the hold is still out there. They'll sometimes get you, take you back over there, and then bring you right back and book you right back in Fulton County.
Oh, okay, all right, so you think that since we already have them, that they would just.
I don't know
go
why
ahead
you
on-
got to go to their department first to clear it out, but it
Okay.
happens. But
All right,
sometimes they just leave them here, but sometimes they book them out and book them right back in.
Okay, I'm just trying, thank you very much. I'm just trying to figure that out. All right, so for each count of battery, it's going to be $1,000 good bond. For the hindering person making an emergency telephone call, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Trimble. Stay away from the 6418 no address. Is he gonna need to go back to that address to retrieve his belongings, Ms. Wright?
Yes, I believe so, Your Honor.
Okay, so he can have a one-time police escort to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. Do he and the alleged victim have any children together?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay,
No, Your Honor.
all right. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Position 26, Salim.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Good afternoon, Mr. Salim. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005965E with simple battery and disorderly conduct. Is there a history?
This is on the prior arrest. No prior arrest.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Your Honor, in this case, the defendant was at I believe the Atlanta Airport Marriott is what I believe that address is, 4711 Best Road. It does not state in the warrant, but it does indicate that it is a hotel. And the defendant was extremely intoxicated and causing a problem with quite a few of the guests. With regard to Kamani Butler, he was touching and caressing her arm without her consent, which alarmed her greatly. He was in the bathroom, becoming far too aggressively close to Mikkel Barnes, who went in there to change his clothes, but changed his mind and left the bathroom out of fear of the defendant. There's also reports that he was harassing several children at the pool, and that he tried to start a fight with an adult who stepped in to protect those children from him. The law enforcement officers did find him pretty much passed out in his room. They were taken to them at the time they arrived to respond to the situation. Also, his address is listed in the report as being in Chicago, Illinois, so he does not seem to have very strong ties with this area. So the state would be asking for a $3,500 good bond on the simple battery, and a $1,000 good bond on the disorderly conduct, to stay away from that hotel. And again, the state is concerned with his concerning and aggressive behavior towards multiple people at that hotel, and also his lack of ties to Georgia.
Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Salim does understand that he got intoxicated and he was rowdy. In terms of the simple battery, he does admit that he touched a girl on the arm and she said, "I don't feel comfortable," and then he didn't touch her again. That is the simple battery that we are talking about here. Mr. Salim's actually a flight attendant. He's been a flight attendant for Virgin Atlantic for 13 years. He flies quite a bit to Georgia. He's very comfortable coming back to resolve his cases. He has no prior arrest. He's never been in trouble in his whole life. He still has a job with Virgin Atlantic. We are asking for a signature bond on this case, Your Honor.
Okay, for the simple battery, it's a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. For the disorderly conduct, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Best Road address. No further contact with the alleged victims, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Salim.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Judge, what was the bond for the simple battery? I missed that.
That's fine. $2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 25, Rufford.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rutherford. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005963B with simple battery and reckless driving. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Mr. Rutherford, does not qualify. 7 prior arrests, prior CWAC in the 90s, 2017 disorderly conduct, 2018 DUI. Nothing further.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes, in this case, the defendant and the victims are actually brothers. And Roy Rutherford, the defendant's brother, noticed that the defendant had been drinking and that he began driving his vehicle. Roy Rutherford tried to stop him. A scuffle ensued, and the defendant threw him to the ground, got on top of them. They did break apart. The officer, when he responded to, actually, I believe it was a neighbor's call that they had heard fighting, or someone else's call. When he responded, he did find drag marks in the driveway and noted that these marks were within 100 feet of traffic on a nearby road, hard scrabble road, where for hard scrabble road, it was light traffic at the time. And for that reason, he charged him with the reckless conduct in the zigzag. The state has dismissed the zigzag charge because there is no evidence that he was out in the road, but the driving was still reckless in that he was driving recklessly so close to traffic in the road. For those reasons, we are asking for a good bond in the amount of $2,500 on the simple battery and $2,500 on the reckless driving. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further violent contact with his brother, Roy Rutherford. And I may be mispronouncing that, Your Honor, I apologize.
That's fine. For the simple battery, it's going to be a $2,000 SOB through the jail. For the reckless driving, a $500 SOB through the jail. No further violent contact with his brother, Rory Rutherford, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Wright?
Yes. You didn't say anything about a stay away, correct?
Stay away was not asked for.
Thank you. That is, as long as that's, thank you,
Okay.
Your Honor. Appreciate that.
That's fine with you, Ms. Wright?
It sure is.
Yes?
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Good luck to you, Mr. Rutherford.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Coleman. I'm done in the breakout room with the interpreter. She's still in there if Mr. Howard wants to go in and speak to his client.
Okay, so if we can put Mr. Howard in. Who do we have next, courtroom 2?
This is position 28, Shy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shaw. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005967F with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Mr. Shaw, does not qualify extensive arrest history, 46 prior arrests, at least 6 convictions for criminal trespass, 5 arrests for probation violation. Currently on probation for terroristic threats, sentenced June of 21, 1 year confinement, 4 years probation. Prior PI in 08 and prior battery in 05.
Okay, Ms. Gardner?
Yes, Your Honor. Briefly, in this case, the defendant was at the Chevron at 639 Morosco Drive Northeast. Law enforcement officers gave him a criminal trespass warning and then were called out about an hour later because he had returned already, just an hour after receiving his warning. When they went to arrest him, the officers reported that he was tensing his arms and pulling it away from them in an attempt to avoid his detention, and he did refuse to obey their lawful directions. Given his history, the state is asking for a $1,500 good bond on each of the 2 offenses, stay away from the Chevron, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Shaw is chronically homeless. He does struggle with mental health issues, as is evident by his criminal history. But he contends that he wasn't harassing anyone. He was at the Chevron talking to other homeless folks that were there that he knows that he was just being friendly with. And I think it was hard for him to understand why, if he was being friendly with the other folks there, a police officer would want to arrest him. Unless he has a signature bond, he is going to be sitting until, another calendar pops up. And I understand that he's got a long criminal history. However, Your Honor, I am going to ask that you consider a signature bond for him.
Ms. Wright, I will see him back on the SAP calendar on the 20th. I would like for you to have a social worker visit with him so that he or she can discuss placement of some type with him. So it's going to be a $250 good bond on each charge, which makes for a total of a $500 good bond. Social worker visit. Stay away from the Chevron on Morosco Drive, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. If you can make sure that this doesn't fall through the cracks, Ms. Wright, I'd appreciate it, because again, I will see him back at the SAP calendar. I'm happy to take a look at the bond recommendation at that time, okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, sir.
Your Honor, you said 250 on each charge. Isn't that 3 charges?
I only have a criminal trespass and a willful obstruction. Do you have another charge?
Oh, no, I see it. Yeah, you're right. My
Okay,
apologies.
all right, no problem, thank you.
Okay.
Position 19, Mr. Moon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moon. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005957F with battery, family violence, 2 counts. Is there a history?
Judge, 2 prior arrests, 1 in Georgia, 1 in Alabama, does not qualify because he has an open case for DUI and Cobb from a March the 20th, 2022 arrest.
All right, Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Your Honor. In this case, the defendant and the victim, Ms. Khadijah Burks, lived together. They were in a relationship. Both were drinking, and they argued about ending the relationship. Their argument escalated, and the defendant tried to take a bottle of tequila out of Ms. Burks's hand. Then he bit her hand, leaving bite marks in her hand. Then he punched her face twice with a closed fist, causing swelling and redness and an abrasion on the side of her face. And when she fell to the ground and tried to crawl away to escape from him, he told her that if she got up, he would do it to her again. In this case, Your Honor, we're asking for a good bond in the amount of $5,000. We do have this incident broken into 2 distinct counts of family violence. So it could be $2,500 good bond for each count. No contact with the victim, Ms. Khadijah Burks. Stay away from the home at 161 Peachtree Center Avenue. and some anger management or family violence intervention would be recommended. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I would be requesting a signature bond on Mr. Moon's behalf. I would remind the court at this time that these are just allegations against my client, which he is denying. Again, he is 32 years of age. He has attended 3 years of college. He is currently employed as a courier for Apple. He is single, has no children, has little money to post for bond. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond on his behalf.
Does he need a one-time escort to go back to the Peachtree Center Avenue address?
He states that the alleged victim, Ms. Burks, was living with him. However, she believes that she is now living with her father. The residence is his.
Okay. It's gonna be a $2,500 signature bond on each count, making it for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Burks. He's to have a one-time police escort to go back to the 161 Peachtree Center Avenue. If Ms. Burks is at that location, he necessarily cannot be there, and he is going to have to retrieve his belongings and find somewhere else to stay. If Ms. Burks is not there, then he can go back to that residence. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Moon.
Thank you.
Judge, to confirm that you said 5,000 SOB to the jail, correct?
No, that's through pretrial per the judge.
Through pretrial, okay, SOB. Position 22, Owens.
Good afternoon, Mr. Owens. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005961J with battery family violence. Is there a history?
Yes, judge does not qualify. Has an open case for battery, family violence, cruelty in the second. I did not write down the number. And then another open case, 22 SC 183140, firearm by marijuana with the intent to distribute, firearm during, prior convictions for controlled substance in 04, 2 FTAs in 04. He has a very old battery family violence in 96. Therefore, that's why the other case is a felony, battery family violence. Convictions for simple battery and simple assault in the early 2000s. Nothing further.
And thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Thank you, Your Honor, and I appreciate that information. I was having a hard time finding the underlying battery family violence conviction in 06. I did see that there was a conviction for battery / simple battery, but it was not showing in Odyssey. And that would explain why we have this pending case 21 CP 203507, which is a subsequent battery family violence. And might I also let the court know that that is the same victim in that open case as there is in this case. We will clearly be seeking a certified copy of that conviction in 06 and then referring this case to the DA's office for prosecution. It appears that it's going to be a third or at least another pending second. This is another case where the defendant and the victim, Miss Asia Harris, were again arguing about breaking up. During that argument, Mr. Owens struck Miss Harris in her face with his fist, causing her to have a bruised eye, a black eye is what the officer noted it as. And Miss Harris said that every time she tries to break up with him, he hits her. They do live together. They do have a child together. The state is going to ask for a good bond. And again, we're very concerned about Miss Harris at this time because, this is 3 family violences we know about. We also found multiple weapons charges without dispositions in his criminal history as well. So we'll be asking for a good bond in the amount of $10,000 to stay away from 94 Allen Temple Court. Their apartment is 383. I'm going to ask that he be required to stay away from the entire apartment complex. that he have no contact whatsoever with Asia Harris. And any sort of family violence intervention or anger awareness would be recommended as well. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right, Ms. Gardner or Ms. Bostic, as I'm hearing from Mr. Coleman, it would be helpful if I knew if there was on that family violence allegedly against Ms. Harris, if there was a no further contact. I take it that he's out on bond for that case. And if he is out on bond, if there was a no further contact with Ms. Harris in that bond order. I don't know if that's something that you all can pull up for me or not, but if you can, I would appreciate it. Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Owens. Despite the 2 open cases, it looks like his last conviction for any violent offense was some 16 years ago. He is a resident of Atlanta, Fulton County. He is 50 years of age. He went as far as the 11th grade. He is currently not working, therefore he has no money to post for bond. He is the father of 1 child aged 10. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Anything further, Ms. Gardner or Ms. Bostic?
I'm looking in the DA's
Judge, I'm looking at it
case.
now.
She may find it more quickly than I am. It's not in the DA's case. It may be in the jail records.
That one.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bostic, I wouldn't have been
I
understanding.
had pulled up the wrong form. I was reading myself. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're fine.
You are to have no contact directly or indirectly with the victim family by phone, Asia Harris, or NH Juvenile.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So apparently there was a no contact order by another judge in another case involving Ms. Harris. And no contact, Mr. Owens, means absolutely no contact. It certainly means no contact directly. So you can't have any contact whatsoever with Ms. Harris. No,
Yes, sir.
No verbal contact, no personal contact, no text contact, no
Sir.
phone contact, no contact whatsoever. You are
Yes.
already in violation of a previous court's order regarding that.
Yes, sir.
And quite often people come before me and they'll say, well, I didn't understand that. That's why I make sure that I tell people that what no contact means.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the state's recommendation on this. It's going to be a $10,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Harris. Stay away from the Allen Temple court address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that you might have there.
Yes,
As far as the children go, I'm not going to keep you from your children, but you're going to have a third-party transfer for visitation of those children, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Jan. Jan.
You have a right to remain
I wouldn't
silent,
say anything at this
Mr.
time,
Owens.
Mr. Owens.
Oh, okay.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
You got a $10,000 good bond.
Okay, $1,000.
Position 20, Mr. Newman.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Newman. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005959E with driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe, failure to dim your lights, and possession of open alcohol container.
Sorry, Judge.
That's
He has
fine.
an open case. He has one prior arrest and it's an open case for DUI misdemeanor possession in Toccoa, TOCCOA, from May the 29th of this year.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Thank you, Your Honor. In this case, the law enforcement officer noticed that the defendant was operating a vehicle on Averets Bridge Road at Medlock Bridge Road in Johns Creek in Fulton County. When he first noticed him, he saw him stopped in traffic immediately behind another vehicle with his high beam lights on. And this was around 1 a.m., so it's quite dark with those high beam lights glaring into the car just in front of him. He initiated a stop and immediately noticed an odor of alcoholic beverages. He noted that the defendant's eyes were bloodshot and watery, that his speech was slurred. The defendant did admit to him drinking a beer. He is also less than 21 years old. And the officer did find an open container of Bud Light Platinum beer behind his seat. The state is asking for, and particularly considering that he's just recently been arrested for DUI, very recently, for a good bond in the amount of $5,000 on the DUI, on the failure to dim, $1,500, on the open container, $1,000, alcohol and drug evaluation and treatment, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Mr. Coleman.
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Newman. As stated, he does have a prior arrest, but that is just an arrest at this time, an accusation, not a conviction. He is 20 years of age. He is a high school graduate. He is currently employed at Willadine's Tavern. He is single, has no children. Again, I would be requesting a signature bond. We would be objecting to any alcohol or drug evaluation being done, as that is typically part of a sentence, and he's not been convicted of anything at this time.
And for the DUI, it's going to be a $2,000 good bond. For the failure to dim, a $500 good bond. For the possession of open alcohol container, $500 good bond, making for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No driving except to and from work, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, Mr. Newman.
Thank you.
Position 11, Frazier.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Frazier. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005954J with battery family violence. Is there a history, Spastic?
I didn't hear the defendant.
It's position 11, Mr. Frazier.
Frazier. Judge, in regards to Mr. Frazier, does not qualify, multi-state offender, Texas, Alabama, Indiana, has an old domestic violence in Indiana, couple of DUIs in 2000 and 03, FTA, fugitive from justice arrest, and probation violation arrest. Nothing further.
When was the last arrest?
I didn't write down the specific last arrest, but one of the last one was the fugitive from justice in 2015.
Okay. Ms. Waldrop?
Your Honor, given the defendant's likelihood of not returning to court, given that previous arrest, as well as the facts of this particular case, the state is requesting a $5,000 surety bond. We're asking that he have no further contact with Ms. LaShawn Culbreath, stay away from the location at 2480 Old National Parkway, have no drugs or alcohol while on bond, and no weapons. And Your Honor, with respect to just a brief factual basis, this charge stems from an incident in which the defendant actually scratched his wife in the face during a dispute, leaving visible marks under her eye that were observed by the officer. And actually, Your Honor, with respect to this case, I believe the officer may have come out more than once and gotten a second call, to which they responded, and at that time took him into custody.
Okay. Mr. Frazier, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Your attorney is going to speak on your behalf, sir. Go ahead and put your hand down for me, because I see you there, so you can put your hand down, okay?
That is very important.
If you want to talk with Mr. Howard, I'm happy to give you that opportunity, but let him do the talking for you, okay? Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Frazier is 60 years old. He has been living here in Georgia for more than 22 years. He currently works at Hartsfield Airport as a security officer. That's a job that he's had for about a month now. He is concerned that if he's in custody for any extended period of time, it would affect his employment. And Judge, he denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. The officers did come out on 2 occasions. She alleged that he had done these things. They didn't observe any visible injury. They took him away and ultimately released him without taking him into custody. And when he went back to get his things, another officer was already, was there on, I guess, in connection with the call as well. And she made some additional allegations, but the initial officer didn't see any scratches or anything related to him injuring her. And it was only after he left that somehow she ended up with scratches on her face. So we would ask the court to consider his fairly limited history of violence. I didn't hear anything that was recent. And even the 2015 matter is more than 7 years old. There was a fugitive from justice warrant that was referenced by pretrial, but we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond in this case.
Speak to the him having not going back to the residence, Mr. Howard.
And Judge, I would inquire if I don't know if the state has spoken with Ms. Colbreth. If the state could give us an understanding of if the victim advocate has spoken with her and what her desire is as it relates to contact. I've not had a chance to call her, but if she is requesting no violent contact, Judge, we would ask the court to allow this to be no violent contact since the parties are married. If he had to, he could go to a different address. But we would ask the court to inquire as to whether the state has any information about her desires.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, have you spoken with her?
Your Honor, no, sir. I left her a voicemail this morning twice, and I have not been able to reach her, and I've not spoken with her.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Taylor. And generally, as you know, Mr. Howard, if no one has spoken with the victims, I don't normally allow them to go back into the household. I'm happy to modify that if someone speaks with her and she desires something different. So at this time, it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Colbreth. Stay away from the Old National Parkway address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. And I'm certainly willing to go back and modify it if Ms. Colbreth has some, if she wants to have contact, then I'm happy to consider that at a later time once someone speaks with her. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Frazier.
Thank you, sir.
Position 13, Hudson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hudson. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005958A with simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
In regards to Mr. Hudson, he does not qualify multi-state offender, 4 arrests in Georgia, 1 in Illinois, 4 in Tennessee, 2 in Indiana. He took a first offender on a drugs charge in Clayton County in 2018. Prior arrest for battery family violence in DeKalb last year, but that was dismissed. In Illinois, that arrest was for reckless conduct assault. And in Tennessee, those were weapons charges. And in Indiana, it was domestic abuse, but no disposition. Nothing further.
Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Judge. With respect to what occurred on this particular date, the defendant actually showed up to the victim's place of work, where he got into an argument with her about her packing up his belongings because she had caught him cheating on her. He pushed her with his hands in the chest as well as his finger, pushed her multiple times in the temple. With respect to the state's request for bond, state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond, no further contact with Natasha Wilson, stay away from 905 Crestline Parkway, and have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons on or about his person.
Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Hudson. Despite his background, he is 32 years of age. I remind the court at this time that these are just allegations against my client. He did graduate from high school. He is currently employed doing armed security. He is the father of 1 child, age 9. I would like to preserve his job if possible. Again, I would be requesting a signature bond on his behalf.
does he need to go back to that Pressline Parkway address?
He states that he is residing with a roommate, so he may possibly need to go back to get whatever belongings he has there, but he does not reside there.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, do you have something for me? No? Okay. So he doesn't need, Mr. Coleman, he doesn't need to go back there? Is that what you're telling
He
me?
may possibly need to go back to get some belongings, but he does not reside there, no.
Okay, Mr. Hudson, do you need to go back to this Pressline Parkway address to get any of your belongings?
I need to only pick up my vehicle. My son is with his grandfather.
Okay, all right. And so is the, Mr. Coleman, is the son with Miss Wilson or not? Does he have no children with Miss Wilson?
No, he
Okay.
does not.
All right, very good. So it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail because I don't want him to lose his job. No further contact with Miss Wilson. Stay away from the 905 Pressland Parkway address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 7, Cameron.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cameron. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005949C with criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history?
This is his only prior arrest, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor. I also did not see a history for Mr. Cameron. Based on that, the state's recommendation on bond is a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Mr. Aaron Goff. Stay away from 735 Prince Place and have no alcohol or drugs while out on bond and no weapons on or about his person.
Is that fine with you, Mr. Howard?
Judge, the bond conditions are fine. We do have concerns about the stay away and then the no contact, given that I believe Mr. Cameron resides at this address with the other parties. Correct, Mr. Cameron? And so, Judge, it's an allegation of damage to property. I would ask he not be evicted essentially because of that. We'd ask that he not be no further violent contact, and we're fine with the other conditions and no stay away.
Who is Aaron to Mr. Cameron?
I believe it's a roommate, Mr. Cameron. Does he, Mr. Goff lives at that address as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, so yeah, just.
Okay. Given that there are no, and Ms. Taylor, were you able to speak with anyone in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor, I was able to speak with the victim this morning, Mr. Golf. He states that they are roommates in a pad split type of home. He does not have a problem with the defendant returning to the property, but he's under the understanding that the landlord will be asking the defendant to leave the residence, and that he does have receipts for $1,500 worth of damages to his moped.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let the landlord deal with any landlord-tenant issues. So it'll be a $1,500 signature bond. I think this can go through the jail as opposed to pretrial. No further violent contact with Mr. Golf, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 18, Molina.
Good afternoon, Mr. Molina. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005956F with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, driving without a valid license, no insurance, failure to keep a proper lane, and possession of an open alcohol container. Is there a history?
Judge, in regards to Mr. Molina, does not qualify multiple state offender. 9 arrests in Georgia, 8 ICE arrests, 1 arrest in Louisiana. Prior convictions, criminal carrying a weapon without a license, and an old aggravated assault and firearm during in 07. Nothing further.
So no drug or alcohol, anything on the record?
No, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gardner?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did see that there was a DUI and hit and run arrest in Louisiana in 2014, but a disposition is not noted on the criminal history that we were able to obtain. We also saw an FTA in 2003. In addition to those, the facts in this case are that the defendant was driving while intoxicated on Fulton Industrial Boulevard near Wendell Street or Wendell Drive, and he failed to maintain his lane and caused an accident by doing that. When the officers responded, he could not provide proof of insurance or a driver's license. He had an open alcoholic beverage in his cup holder next to the driver's seat. And when being placed under arrest, he pulled away, grabbing at Officer Marinelli's person, his hands, his pants leg, his private areas, and also his duty belt. We would ask that the bond remain as set for these offenses. They were set for obstruction, $2,500 good bond, DUI, $5,000 good bond, driving without a valid license, $2,500 good bond, no insurance, $3,500 good bond, failure to maintain lane, $1,500 good bond, and the open container, $1,000 good bond. Good bond also that he have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Molina. Again, I remind the court that these are just allegations against him at this time. I did not hear he has any prior DUI convictions. He is 42 years of age. He attended some college. He's currently employed at Lee Company, well, LEE Company. He is the father of one child, age 8. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond on his behalf, or in lieu of that, a low bond.
Okay, these are all going to be good bonds. For the willful obstruction, $500. For the DUI, $1,500. For each of the other charges, $250. So that's going to be a total of $3,000 good bond total. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Molina.
Thank you, sir.
Judge Morrow, I have a few announcements real quick.
Okay,
Position 15 is a medical reset.
okay, go slow for me 1 second. Medical reset for 15, is that until tomorrow?
Until tomorrow.
Okay, so that's till 9/6, okay?
Position 21 is going to be reset due to combative.
Okay, until tomorrow, 9/6,
Yes.
okay?
And also position 23 is a reset.
And that's till tomorrow, 9/6?
That is correct, Judge.
And what's the reason for Mr. Parham?
Medical.
Okay, thank you. Does that complete courtroom 2 for the afternoon?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you so much, Judge.
All right, very good. Thank you all. You all be safe, okay?
Thank you, you too.
Judge,
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow
Position
afternoon.
number 4, Your Honor, is ended.
Okay, this is Ashley Barrett. Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Barrett. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005946H was driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe, and improper or erratic lane change. Is there a history?
Judge, who did they say? I heard it
This is-
M, but
Position 4, Ms. Barrett.
4.
4, FOU 4.
Okay, Ashley Barrett, 2 prior arrests, a DUI in Commons, but there's no disposition from 12/24/20. Well, this is her second arrest, sorry, say that.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor, as you heard, this is the defendant's second arrest for DUI in a period of approximately 2 years. with regard to what occurred on this particular date, she failed to maintain her lane, struck a curb, causing damage to her vehicle that included a flat tire. She admitted to alcohol consumption as well as showed impairment on the field sobriety evaluations that were
So there's
performed.
2 boxes of pasta and 2 boxes of Alfredo sauce.
Okay, Ms. Bostic, can you mute, please? Thank you. I'm sorry.
That's
Go
okay,
ahead.
Judge. And on count 1, the DUI, the state would be recommending a $5,000 straight bond, that the defendant have no drugs or alcohol and no driving. On count 2, the improper lane change, they would request a $500 straight bond.
Okay. Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge, Ms. Barrett is 29 years old. She tells me that the other arrest that pretrial mentioned was dismissed for lack of evidence, so she hasn't been convicted of anything. She has been living in Georgia her entire life. She attended Mountain View High School in Lawrenceville, and she achieved her associate's degree in healthcare and science as well. She's currently working 2 jobs. She works as a customer service rep for My Airbags, a company that repairs airbags and seatbelts, as well as she's a server at the Box Bar and Grill in Dallas, Georgia. So she's working to provide for her 2 minor children, ages 10 and 12. Judge, she'd like the court to consider her for signature bond. We'd ask that the bond be set at $1,000 on the DUI and a $500 on the improper lane change. And if the court is not inclined to give a straight signature bond on all charges, we'd ask that she be given a signature bond on the improper lane change and that the bond be set at $1,000 on the DUI, alcohol less safe. She tells me that she swerved to avoid a raccoon that was, or some animal that was in the roadway, which led to her striking the curb. And the field, she indicated she told the officer she needed to go to the restroom. They wouldn't allow her. So it was a lot going on, Judge, but she denies being under the influence of alcohol to the extent she would be a less safe driver. So we'd ask the court to consider that.
Okay, so for the DUI, it's going to be a $1,500 good bond. For the improper erratic lane change, a $500 good bond, making for a total of a $2,000 good bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Barrett.
Thank you, Judge.
That'll be all this up in it's Your Honor.
All right. Yes, you all have a good afternoon. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, before you is Mr. Esquivel, position number 9.
All right, and we're going to utilize the interpreter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Madam Interpreter, good afternoon. Again, if you can raise your right hand for me.
Yes,
You
sir.
swear or affirm that you will interpret from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Esquivel Hilario. I'm Judge Eric Morrow.
Buenas tardes, señor Esquivel Hilario. Yo soy el juez Eric Morrow.
You have been charged in case 22 CR 005952D with driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, improper erratic lane change, and expired or no license on person.
Señor, usted ha sido acusado en el caso 22 CR 005952 por manejar incapacitado por los efectos del alcohol, por hacer un cambio errático de carril. What was the second charge, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
Improper erratic lane change.
Thank you. Y por conducta negligente.
And expired or no license on person.
Perdón, y por no tener licencia en su persona o tener licencia vencida. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Is there a history, Ms. Bostic?
Yes, Judge. 5 prior arrests total.
Sí, hay antecedentes de 5 arrestos anteriores.
08 first offender on meth. 09 DUI arrest. 1 FTA, 1 probation violation, and arrest for alien inadmissibility in 09. Nothing further.
por un anterior cargo de manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol, otro cargo por no comparecer ante el tribunal y después por no ser admisible con documentación en el 2009.
Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Judge. In addition to multiple failure to appears and probation violations, I show 3 prior arrests, one from 2002 for DUI, 2007 for DUI, and again in 2009 for DUI. With respect to this particular stop, the defendant was observed failing to maintain his lane and crossing.
One moment, please. One moment. I'm gonna need you to pause, madam. I'm sorry. Thank you. Lo que veo son 3 arrestos anteriores en el 2002 por manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol. En el 2007 también hay otro cargo relacionado con manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol. Y en el 2009 por también manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol e incapacitado. Go ahead, ma'am. The officers.
Yes, the officer observed the defendant failing to maintain his lane and crossing the fog line. And then he stopped the defendant and made contact and noticed both physical manifestations of impairment that included odor, bloodshot, watery eyes, and swaying. The defendant also
One moment, please. One moment, please. Los oficiales observaron que el acusado hizo un cambio de carril incorrecto y en el carril de niebla, y también cuando hicieron contacto con él se notó el aliento alcohol, los ojos vidriosos y rojizos y también la falta de equilibrio. Go ahead, madam.
Yes, the defendant also exhibited all 6 clues of impairment on the HGN evaluation.
También se vio que tenía un impedimento para cumplir con la evaluación hecha en el lugar del hecho.
For these reasons, Judge, the state is requesting a $5,000 surety bond on the DUI for the defendant to have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no driving, certainly no driving without a valid license at the very least. On count 2, state is requesting a $500 surety bond, and on count 3, a $500 surety.
Lo que la fiscalía recomienda es una fianza, perdón, de $5,000 bajo garantía por el cargo de manejar incapacitado por el alcohol. Se queda prohibido el uso de alcohol y drogas, queda prohibido el manejar sin licencia o manejar sin una licencia válida. En el cargo 2 se requiere una fianza de $500 bajo garantías y en el tercer caso una fianza de $500.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Escovel Hilario is 43 years old. He has been living here in Georgia most recently for the past 2 years.
Mi cliente tiene 43 años y ha vivido en Georgia por los últimos 2 años.
He has resided at an address in Peachtree Corners, Georgia for the past 2 years.
Y durante esos 2 años ha tenido una vivienda en Peachtree Corners, Georgia.
And he has been working in construction for the past 10 years, providing for his family.
Y ha trabajado en construcción durante los últimos 10 años para proveer por su familia.
Yes, he won't qualify for the services of the public defender after today.
Él no va a cumplir los requisitos para recibir un abogado público de la oficina de nuestro tribunal.
We did hear a history, however, much of it was very remote, more than 10 years old, Judge. We'd ask the court to consider a $1,000 bond on the DUI charge, and then signature bonds of any amount on the improper lane change and no license charges.
Como estos cargos mencionados son casos de más de 10 años, pedimos que se le otorgue una fianza de $1,000 bajo firma por el cargo de DUI, por el cargo de el cambio incorrecto del carril y por el cargo contra la licencia.
All right. For the DUI, it's going to be a $1,500 good bond. For the improper or erratic lane change, a $500 good bond. For the expired or no license on person, a $500 good bond, making for a total of a $2,500 good bond, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Your Honor, how
Yes.
much is the bond for the third charge? Again, please.
500.
Thank you. Entonces, que le otorgo una fianza de $1,500 por el primer cargo de manejar incapacitado por los efectos del alcohol. El segundo cargo por cambio incorrecto de carril son $500 de fianza bajo garantía, y por manejar sin licencia son $500 de fianza bajo garantía, haciendo un total de una fianza de $2,500, y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Good luck to you, sir.
Gracias. Buena suerte, señor.
Johnny, can we do the other interpreter case?
Yes, that's what I was anticipating. Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Position 17.
Position 17, señor. Siéntate, por favor. Aquí. Siéntate. Señor Martínez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Martinez. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005970H with one misdemeanor offense.
Buenas tardes, señor Martínez. Yo soy el juez Eric Morrow, y usted tiene una acusación en un caso 22CR 005970H, y usted tiene un delito, ha sido acusado con un delito menor de disputa física.
Is there a history?
¿Hay antecedentes?
If so, you're on mute, Ms. Bostic.
2 prior arrests in Texas.
I'm sorry, how many?
No, 1 prior arrest in Texas for alien inadmissibility.
Un arresto anterior, y debido a la falta de admisibilidad por indocumentación.
2 arrests in Georgia, both were dismissed. Terroristic threats in 2016 and a criminal trespass in 2020. Nothing further.
Él ha tenido 2 arrestos previos en el estado de Georgia que fueron desestimados, borrados. Uno por amenazas terroristas en el 2016, y después por allanamiento de morada en el 2020.
Walter?
Yes, Judge. This incident occurred as a result of the defendant grabbing the victim's buttocks as she exited MARTA. With respect to the state's request for bond, on count 1, we are asking for a $5,000 straight bond for the defendant to have no further contact whatsoever with Ashanti Carter, to stay away from MARTA, have no alcohol or drugs while out on bond, and no weapons on or about his person.
En este caso se alega que este acusado tomó a la víctima arrebatándola cuando ella intentaba salir de Marta. Se pide una multa de $5,000, no tener más contacto con la señora Carter, y también queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas, y no puede no tener contacto o regresar a Marta.
Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond from Mr. Martinez. He is denying these allegations. He has a very limited criminal history. He is 63 years of age.
Le pido una fianza bajo firma para el señor Martínez, ya que él niega estos alegatos. No hay no tiene un historial penal serio. y tiene 62 años.
He has lived in Atlanta for the last 15 years and attended 2 years of high school.
Él completó su segundo año de la secundaria y ha vivido en la área de Atlanta durante 15 años.
He states to me that he has several health problems for which he is seeking treatment at Grady Hospital.
Él me ha declarado ante mí que él tiene varios problemas de salud y está recibiendo tratamiento en el Hospital Grady.
He is not working, therefore he has no money to post for bond.
Él no está trabajando, por lo tanto no tiene dinero para pagar su fianza.
Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Mr. Martinez.
De nuevo, solicito a su señoría una fianza bajo firma para el señor Martínez.
All right, it's gonna be $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Ashanti Carter. Abide by any MARTA stay away restrictions. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Entonces, impongo una fianza de $1,000, no tener más contacto con Ashanti Carter, no regresar a Marta y queda prohibido el uso de drogas, armas y alcohol.
Good luck to you, sir.
Buena suerte, señor.
Una pregunta, ¿y cómo puedo pagar esa fianza si no tengo trabajo?
One question, sir. How can I pay that? How can I make bond if I don't have a job?
Y tengo problemas de salud.
Because of my
Unfortunately, you may
health
not be able
problems.
to, sir.
Perdón?
But
I'm sorry, sir.
you will have another court date in about 15 days.
Usted tiene otro día de comparecencia más o menos en 15 días, de nuevo.
So you may be able to be released at that time, either through a plea or another bond hearing.
Usted puede en ese día tener una audiencia para tomar una declaración o tener otra nueva audiencia de fianza.
Tendría libertad a partir de ahora para ver qué puedo hacer dentro de 15 días que usted me dice.
So you're saying I will have to wait for 15 days to see what I can do? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir, if you don't have the money to post for bond now, or no one can post the bond for you.
Sí, si usted no tiene dinero para pagar la fianza, tendrá que quedarse, o si no tiene nadie que pueda venir a pagarle la fianza.
No tengo a nadie quien pueda pagarme la fianza.
I don't have anybody to come post bond for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez.
Lo siento, señor Martínez.
Do we have
¿Qué
next?
puedo
court-
hacer?
Señor, siéntate, por favor. Señor Vázquez, come in.
And I
Your
think
Honor, I'm sorry.
Hold 1 second,
Well,
Officer Mayor. I believe that, Madam Interpreter, that those were the two cases that we
No.
needed today.
I have to assist Ms. Vasquez too, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
It was requested.
Okay,
Yes, I requested, Ms. Vasquez got an NOD, and if she can, the interpreter can explain that to her, because I'm not sure how to do that part.
okay. What position is this?
She is not on the court calendar, because she was NOD'd.
Are you familiar with this case, Ms. Gardner?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, would you like to explain that to her?
Well, we
Or-
opted to dismiss the charges against her. So
Hemos
this case
optado
is now over.
hemos optado desestimar los cargos en su contra, por eso este caso ha terminado. ¿Entendió, señora?
Sí, gracias, gracias.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, very good.
I think now I have finished it.
Okay.
Unless, if you don't mind reminding me, because I forgot, position 24, Rosario Rodriguez was also finished, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
he received a signature bond. Do we need to explain that to him, Officer Milton, or not?
So we did, because you
Okay,
did that in the breakout session.
okay, very good. Thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Your
it.
Honor. I just wanted to make sure.
Have a
Have
good
a good
rest of
evening.
Labor Day. Yes, thank you.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are ready
Who do we
for
have?
position number 2, Ms. Ballas.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ballas. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005951C with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history?
Convictions for driving with a suspended license in 09 and 18, 3 FTAs, 11, 18, and 18, and 1 arrest for probation violation. Nothing further.
Okay. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor, with respect to the defendant's criminal history, the multiple failure to appears, the probation violation, state will be requesting a $1,000 surety bond. She did resist arrest by pulling away from officers and refusing to comply with lawful commands.
What were the underlying charges?
One moment, Judge. Your Honor, this stemmed from a investigation that officers did at the Fairfield Inn. They responded to a call of a theft, and in speaking with the defendant and getting her information and running that information, they showed her having a arrest warrant out of Monroe County. So that is when they began to place her under arrest for the warrant that was active, and she did resist.
Okay, and is there an active warrant out of Monroe?
I would have to defer to pretrial, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Howard, I'm gonna release her on a signature bond through the jail.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, and
No
no drugs,
alcohol.
alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Ms. Ballas.
Thank
What
you
was
so
the
much.
bond
Have a
amount?
blessed day.
What was the amount,
Bond
Judge?
amount, Judge?
$1,000 signature bond through the jail, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Okay. Next, we have position number 12, Ms. Grady.
Good afternoon, Ms. Grady. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005955A with simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
In regards to Ms. Grady, multi-state offender. No, I'm sorry, not multi-state. 10 prior arrests total. Last arrest was a simple battery in 2017. It was no prize. History of DUIs 4, but last one was in 2012 and a disorderly conduct in 2012.
So no convictions on any history of violence.
1 arrest, which was no prize in 2017.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident, or this charge rather, stems from an incident in which the defendant slapped her husband, Mr. Jeffrey Cofer, twice in the face. And that is according to the video that the officer observed and references in his warrant. With respect to the state's recommendation on bond, the state is requesting a $1,500 surety bond for the defendant to have no further violent contact with Mr. Jeffrey Cofer, have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons on or about her person.
Coleman?
Yeah, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Miss Grady. She is 39 years of age. She is a college graduate, currently employed at Career Builder. She will not qualify for public defender representation after today. Looking at her record, it looks like her last arrest for any violent crime was back in 2017. A simple battery charge, which was dismissed some 5 years ago. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond. She also states to me that the alleged victim in this case, her husband, does want to have contact.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Colfer, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Grady.
Next, we have position 14, Ms. Johnson.
Good afternoon, Ms. Johnson. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005964J with giving false information to a law enforcement officer and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history?
The only prior arrest was a DUI in 2020, no disposition listed. Nothing further.
All right, Ms. Waldrop.
Yes, Your Honor. On the giving false info, state's recommendation is a $500 signature bond through pretrial, and on the driving while license suspended, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. We are asking that there be no driving without a valid license.
All right, it's going to be a $500 signature bond on the giving false information through the jail, and a $1,000 signature bond through the jail on the driving while license was suspended or revoked. Obviously, Mr. Coleman.
I'm sorry, you froze up. I couldn't hear you.
500 signature bond through the jail for the giving false information, $1,000 signature bond through the jail for the driving while license suspended or revoked.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Good.
Next, we have position 16, Ms. Love. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ms. Love. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005973A with simple battery, family violence, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Boston?
The only prior arrest is a theft by shoplifting in 2018, and it was the first offender. Nothing further.
All right. Ms. Waldrop?
Yes, Your Honor. These charges stem from an incident in which the defendant got into a physical altercation with her mother. Her stepfather intervened, having to pull her off of her mother. She then bit him, causing a bite mark to his right forearm as he tried to remove her from the home. And she actually tried to get back into the home upon being removed. This all occurred in front of the defendant's minor child. With respect to count 1, the simple battery family violence, state is requesting a $1,500 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Nairee Green, and stay away from 1750 Crosswinds Walk. Have no drugs or alcohol while out on bond, and no weapons on or about her person. On the cruelty to children, the state is recommending $500 surety bond, same conditions of staying away from the 1750 Crosswinds Walk address, no alcohol or drugs and no weapons. And on the battery family violence, state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Eric Moore, stay away from 1750 Crosswinds Walk, and have no drugs or alcohol and no weapons.
And Mr. Coleman?
Yeah, I'll be requesting a signature bond for Ms. Love. She has very limited criminal history, only one prior. She is 24 years of age, resident of Atlanta, Fulton County. She is a high school graduate, currently employed at Crystals. She is the mother of 2 children, ages 1 and 2. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond.
Has anybody spoken with Ms. Green or Ms. Moore, or does anyone know their, and given that it's the parent, I believe, what's their desire as far as contact goes? Ms. Taylor?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. A voicemail has been left for both parents and no one has called me back as of yet.
Okay. Do you know Mr. Coleman?
I do not. However, Ms. Green states to me she does not reside with them. I imagine that she probably would want to have contact with her mother.
Okay. So it's going to be with a simple battery, a $2,000 signature bond through pre-trial, cruelty to children, a $500 signature bond through pre-trial, battery family violence, a $2,000 signature bond through pre-trial. That makes a total of a $4,500 signature bond through pre-trial, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Green or Mr. Moore, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Up to you, Ms. Long.
What was the amount on count 3, please?
2,000.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have position 27, Ms. Celan.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005966C with disorderly conduct. Is there a history? Ms. Bostic?
I couldn't understand the last name, Daylon?
Yeah, position number 27, SAYLAN.
Oh, Ceylon. Oh, only prior arrest, Judge. I was hearing a D.
Oh, okay, no problem.
No other arrest, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Gardner?
Thank you, Your Honor. In this case, the defendant and Miss Dina Jean-Claude are neighbors. It appears that I believe the defendant's residence may be 604 River Mill Circle, and Miss Jean-Claude's address is 605 River Mill Circle, and that's in Roswell. And on the very early morning, say the report indicates 12:23 through 1:14 in the morning. So in the very wee hours of the morning on September 4th, the factual basis is that Ms. Ceylon was outside of Ms. Jean-Claude's residence on the sidewalk, on the side of the parking lot, screaming a list of very vile and offensive things at her house from the road. The responding officer did watch nearly 11 minutes of surveillance footage of the just constant barrage of these vile and horrible things that I would prefer not to repeat in this courtroom being screamed at this lady's house while she is presumably trying to sleep. The officer did note that Ms. Ceylon did appear to be intoxicated. We would ask for a $2,500 good bond, that she be required to stay away as much as possible from the address right next to her address, to have no contact whatsoever with the victim, Dina Jean-Claude, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while on bond.
Okay, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Miss Jean-Claude, and to stay away from her residence, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Wright?
That's all right, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Good luck to you, Ms. Ceylon.
I'm going on a cruise in 2 weeks, so I be able to go.
I'm sorry, I can't understand.
I said, I'm going on a cruise in 2 weeks. Am I able to go?
I'm not restricting your comings and goings. You just need to stay away from Miss Jean-Claude's house. So as long as Miss Jean-Claude's house isn't going to be on your vacation, then you should be fine. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Position 32, Ms. Williams. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. I'm Judge Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You have been charged in case 22 CR 005971D with simple battery against a police officer, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history?
This is only prior arrest, Judge.
All right, Ms. Gardner.
Your Honor, this factual basis of this case also occurred in the early morning hours, approximately little after 3 a.m. at the Royal Peacock Lounge. The address there is 186 and a half Auburn Avenue in Atlanta. And the facts in this case is that the law enforcement officer, Officer Castro, arrived to find a security guard already dealing with the defendant. They had reported that there had been a lot of fighting going on in the lounge. And at first, the lounge did want to press charges against Ms. Williams, but then management declined. However, even when she was told that charges would not be pressed against her, she continued to argue with her female cousin. And then that argument escalated into a physical altercation in front of the police officers. She walked past Officer Castro and then pushed him and then spit at the security guard. Ultimately, Officer Castro had to place her on the ground to control her due to her continuing to resist her lawful arrest after this simple battery against the officer, and also her continued refusals to follow his instructions. The state is recommending a good bond in the amount of $2,500 for the simple battery against a law enforcement officer, $1,500 for the obstruction, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to stay away from the Royal Peacock Lounge on Auburn Avenue.
Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Williams is 21 years old. She had her cousins come in from Alabama. They were celebrating. They got a little rowdy and then a lot rowdy. And she doesn't quite remember much of it, but she understands that she made mistakes. Again, she's 21. She lives with her aunt. She helps her aunt. She helps with taking care of her younger cousins. This is the first time she's ever been arrested. She does have ties with the community. I am asking for a signature bond on this case.
All right, for the simple matters, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. For the willful obstruction, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. Makes for a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. 1 day anger awareness. Stay away from the Royal Peacock Lounge. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hip hip hooray! Woo! Alive.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow, Miss Officer.
I probably will be over here.
Oh, you're permanently there? Oh,
I'll probably be over here tomorrow.
okay. I'll see you tomorrow.
You'll,
All right.
You'll see what I say. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful Labor Day. Go ahead, eat some barbecue for me.
All right. Have a good rest of your day also. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see, Mr. Jordan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Ms. Milton.
Ready? Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm with Officer Milton. Y'all did an outstanding job today.
Absolutely. It should be this way every day. Thank you, State. It should be this
way.
Right.
First appearance.
So position 1, I have a 500 surety bond reset to SAP 9/20/22. Position 2, I have a $1,000 sign-on bond jail reset further notice. Position 3, I have a $1,000 surety bond reset 9/20/22. Position 4, I have a $2,000 surety total, $1,500 for charge 1, $500 for charge 2. Reset SAP. Position 5 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial. Position 6 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial. Position 7 is a $1,500 sign-on bond jail. Position 8 is a $6,000 surety, $3,000 per charge. Reset SAP. Position 9 is a $2,500 surety, $1,500 for count 1 and $500 for count 2 and 3. Reset SAP. Position 10 is a $1,000 sign-on bond jail. It's reset further notice. Position 11 is a $5,000 sign-on bond jail, reset further notice. Position 12 is a $2,000 sign-on bond pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position 13 is a $3,000 sign-on bond jail. Position 14 is a $1,500 sign-on bond jail, $500 for count 1 and $1,000 for count 2. Position 15 is reset to 9/16/22 SCA. Position 16 is a $4,500 sign-on bond pretrial. $2,000 for count 1 and 3 and $500 for count 2. Position 17 is a $1,000 surety bond, reset SAP. Position 18 is a $3,000 surety bond. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. $3,000 surety, and that is reset to SAP. That's $500 for count 1, $1,500 for the DUI, and $250 for the remaining charges. Position 19 is a $5,000 sign-on bond pretrial per judge, $2,500 per charge. Position 20 is a $3,000 surety bond, reset SAP. Position 21 is reset to tomorrow's SCA. Position 22 is a $10,000 surety, reset SAP. Position 23 is reset to tomorrow's SCA. Position 24, was that 5,000 for count 1, Judge?
I believe count 1 was already set, so the only one that I set today.
Oh,
was
okay, this is the guy that was,
Right.
you're right. So it was 7,000 total, so we just needed to add the $1,000 for the disorderly conduct.
Right.
Position 25 was a $2,500 sign-on bond jail. $2,000 for count 1 and $500 for count 2. Position 26 is a $3,000 sign-on bond jail. $2,000 for count 1 and $1,000 for count 2. Position 27 is a $2,500 sign-on bond pretrial. Position 28 is a $500 surety, $250 per charge. Position 29 is a $2,500 surety, $1,000 for counts 1 and 2 and $500 for count 3. Position 30 is a $3,000 sign-on bond pretrial. Position 31 is a $3,000 surety, reset SAP. Position 32 is a $2,000 sign-on bond pretrial. And position 33 is a $3,500 surety, reset SAP, $3,000 for count 1 and $500 for count 2.
For position 15, I think you said 9/16. It should be tomorrow 9/6, shouldn't it?
9/6, yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or concerns?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. We will see you again the next time we see you. I'll be here tomorrow.
Thank you.
Adam-
Have a good rest of the
Adam will be
holiday.
with me. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Judge. Happy holidays to everyone.
That's all.